Hello and welcome to Nice Drop of Port, a new podcast aimed at fans of the new A-League team, Auckland Football Club. Now, we are people living here in Auckland and we have been waiting a long time for this moment. Wellington Phoenix have had their team down there for about 15 years, I think, but we haven't had a team up here at all. So this podcast is designed very much to analyse the launch of the new Auckland A-League football team, whatever direction it may take, whatever's going to happen. We're going to be there and just keep an eye on what's going on and have some people on the show just sort of examining and analysing where the club is moving. My name is Dale Owens. I'm a football fanatic from the UK originally, been living in Auckland 17 odd years myself. And yeah, just decided to do this podcast through intrigue more than anything. The difference with us is most football teams out there, they do have fan podcasts. But of course, these football teams have been going a long time. They've been going a long time before the internet started or before podcasts started. So there was already a culture and identity, a history, whereas we're starting from scratch. So it's going to be really intriguing to see how the club picks up support from its community, which is us Aucklanders and I guess the wider area in the North Island of New Zealand. But it's going to be very exciting, and we are very excited to see how things pan out. Of course, the season doesn't start till October. There's been a few friendlies in and around Auckland. The team over in Australia now playing some A-League opposition. And yeah, so very excited. Got myself a season ticket where I'm going to take my children and some friends. So we're going to kind of go there to not only watch the football, but to think about what the atmosphere is like, kind of, how the club is, and just the value of match day. Really, it's going to be very exciting to actually, get in the car or jump on some public transport and get down to a professional football match, because us football crazy people here in Auckland have been starved this for a long time. There are huge swathes of us that get up in the middle of the night or up early to watch football from England, but now it feels like there's going to be something for us. So we've finally been invited to the party. So today we are going to be discussing some of the big talking points so far. First of all, the signing of Alex Paulsen, the goalkeeper from Bournemouth, who's come into the Auckland Football Club and is highly rated, but there's been a bit of controversy, so we'll be getting into that. We'll be talking about Derby Day. Auckland v Wellington is going to be a derby, albeit they are almost 400 miles apart geographically, so we'll have a little chat about that. And also we're going to be asking the question, why did Ali Williams order a shirt that was too small for him, or was there something else we didn't know about? To join me today to discuss these is going to be my first guest, Matt McGann. Here he is. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and now you're obviously my first choice to have on with me on my first show. We've been here pretty much the same amount of time. Strangely, about 17 years. We arrived in Auckland, both from different parts of England, and that strangely, when I was doing some research for this show, is the same length as when the Wellington Phoenix started. It actually, their first game was the April in 2007, and we'd been in New Zealand a couple of months. Do you remember?
I don't remember much about the football, if I'm going to be honest. I think it was rugby fever when we arrived, wasn't it?
It was rugby. You're right, and actually, the mainstream probably didn't get it at all. I was working in a newsroom, and I remember on the weekend, someone in the newsroom was making a big song and dance that New Zealand had a team back in the A-League, because there'd been one in Auckland previously to us arriving. They were called oh my goodness, what were they called? They were also the Knights, weren't they? The New Zealand Knights.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. Yeah.
And whenever anyone talks about that franchise, it's never in great terms.
No, not good memories by the sounds of what people talk about.
And so, we've been living up here. We like many others in this city are big football fans. Did you ever get behind the Wellington Phoenix? Are you ever remotely interested in that?
Not too much. I mean, I think just still, heavily looking at my football team back in the UK. So, but I feel like I have now probably got a little bit more time, and with the flexibility of Sky as well. I think I have. Recently I've watched a few of the games. I think they haven't done particularly great, but they've actually been quite good the last couple of seasons. I mean, I think last season I watched a fair bit of them. They made the
They had a good run. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, did they get to the final? They didn't get to the end final, did they? They got
Yeah.
to the one before it. There's kind of
They,
like you can finish top of the ladder or in the top few.
yeah.
Then there's like a playoff system.
That's right. They topped the league, though, didn't they?
They topped the league. I don't know if they finished top of the league, but they were thereabouts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But essentially, they kind of went all the way, and they were very close to a grand final.
Yeah.
It was a breakthrough season for the
Mm.
FIG. I guess it's a good time for another New Zealand team to sort of join the
Oh,
front.
yeah.
I mean, this
Big
brings
time.
us on to our first talking point. Alex Paulsen. Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you know? What do you know about this guy? We were told we actually did a rehearsal for this show last week. I don't know if you call it a rehearsal. We were trying to make sure we knew what the buttons did, and
Yeah.
Matt's just reminded me that he did. We were talking about, well, who should they sign,
Oh,
and you mentioned this guy.
yeah. I mean, straight away, for the games that I watched, the Wellington Phoenix when he was playing there, he stood out pretty much above everybody, even with the people they were playing against. Particularly nowadays, where a lot of football teams are now looking to put a goalkeeper that can play with his feet. It's not just about obviously keeping the ball out of the net is obviously the primary goal, pardon the pun, but he's fantastic with his feet. His distribution, his management, the communication with his back line as well was extremely good. So he stood out, yeah. And yeah, looked just too good to be playing in the league, to be honest. There was no it didn't come as a surprise when I saw that Bournemouth had signed him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, is he too good for this level?
I think so. I thought when Bournemouth had signed him, I really did think that he would be. I don't know if he'd be first choice. I'm not quite sure who Bournemouth have got between the posts these days, but I could easily see him being a second or a third. He'd be the goalkeeper that would play, in the League Cup, in the FA Cup ties.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of reading around it because we'll get on to this a little bit later. So, Bournemouth is owned by Bill Foley, the owner of Auckland Football Club, and we'll definitely get into this. But essentially, there was talk that Bill Foley owned another club, Hibernian, a Scottish top flight team, and there was talk that maybe he would have slotted in there because that's kind of like one rung up. Well, it's a few rungs up from the A League, most likely, but obviously just below a few rungs below the Prem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's the sort of goalkeeper that could probably play in the Scottish Premier League.
Easy.
I mean, let's run through. He was A League goalkeeper of the year,
Yeah.
Fans A League player of the year, joint winner of the Young A League Footballer of the Year award. He also played every minute of Phoenix this season. He
went to the Olympics as well.
Went to the Olympics,
and he was great there.
12 clean sheet. Great. I didn't see any of it. I don't watch the Olympics.
I watched. Who did they play? I can't think of the game they played. It might have been the USA. I mean, I think New Zealand unfortunately lost about 4 or 5-0 in that game. He was just being pelted, and he made some great saves. And he was good with his feet. His distribution was fantastic as well. So yeah, it's a great signing. As I can see. Yeah,
we're gonna see if we can take a look at a few of his saves here, Matt. See if the tech's working. All right.
Here we go.
Trust me. Oh no, don't trust me.
I always find it hard to comment on a goalkeeper but here we go. Yeah.
Steers forward.
He saved the follow-up as well.
Kitto.
There's an open play.
Chips and back post again. Bobolina's header. Back into the danger zone. Ibasuki's there.
Oh, it looks like he knows what he's doing.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
He's so to get.
He doesn't look the biggest either.
Make that
but he's good.
He's wiry though, isn't he? He's wiry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got a good leap as well. Yeah.
So
I mean, what that doesn't do justice is
bit of techno problems there. Keep going. Techno notice, as they say.
What doesn't do justice is his distribution there as well. Because I think that's what sets a really good, decent goalkeeper to a goalkeeper. That's why I thought it makes more sense. It made sense that Bournemouth signed him because
a team like level, they want all their goalies to play. They
want the lot
in the Prem now, don't they? I mean,
they want everything, and he can do it. Yeah, he's good at that. Very good.
So Bournemouth sign him for £4 million. They see him, in the A League last year. Obviously head and shoulders above the other goalies. Young guy. He's only the second New Zealand player we've got in the Premier League after Chris Wood. Paulsen is the only other one at the moment.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Excuse me. And so he signs for £4 million, which is about 8 million New Zealand dollars, which I thought, geez, that's a lot of money for the Phoenix to pick up, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I guess we're going to talk onto this, but yeah, when it comes to the way the contract works out and how that kind of stuff, I mean, usually what happens is when these guys sign and then they loan them back out again, they'll have a situation where they'll, a player going from one team to another the people that are picking him up will pay a proportion or percentage of his wages on whatever he's on. But in this scenario, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. Yeah, I don't know if Bournemouth are just going to take the hit. I mean, £4 million really isn't a lot of money when it comes to signings these days in the Premier League. But in terms of how that goes back, yeah.
So it's a lot of money. A bit of controversy around this move. Essentially, Wellington Phoenix have come out this week because obviously he's played for Wellington. He's been bought by Bournemouth. Bournemouth's owned by Bill Foley, who owns Auckland. He's just loaned it back to one of his own clubs in the stable of multi-club ownership.
Yeah.
And now, unbeknownst to me, potentially you as well, Matt, there has been a clause or a rule for 8 years which has stopped this type of thing happening, and it's called the Caceres clause. Hold on, I don't think I've done that right.
No, I think you've done it justice. I think you've definitely you've gone further with it than I would have.
Butchered the Spanish. Caceres. And so that rule, the Caceres clause, essentially stops this type of thing happening. It's a prohibition on certain transfers and loans between related clubs, which was introduced in 2016 following the immediate loan of Anthony Caceres to Melbourne City Football Club from Manchester City Football Club. After Man City FC purchased the player from Central Coast Mariners, the prohibition was referred to informally as the Caceres clause. And so essentially they've breached that. But 5 days ago, the A-League kind of put out a presser, essentially saying they were now reviewing the Caceres clause after a number of clubs in May had come forward about saying they didn't want it anymore because it was kind of restricting growth, they're saying, of the league.
Yeah, I can see that point.
Yeah, because it's going to be wonderful to have someone of almost Prem quality playing in the A-League, I mean, and why not have a bunch of them down here?
Yeah. I can sympathise with Wellington Phoenix. I mean, the way I'm speaking about him, you could easily argue that he was his best. He was their best player last season, and for him to
easily, if you look at the awards he won, I mean, he's the best player. We've taken our biggest rival's best player before the season started,
and that's what sucks. Exactly, that's what would really get up the nose of a Wellington Phoenix fan is that not only have you lost him, which is going to have a huge impact on the next season, but he's also going to be playing against you in the same league. It's a death rattle for any team that wants to try and get better. When you lose your best player and you give him to a team that's in your same league, it's just it's a nightmare.
I'm kind of thinking about you're born to be a pundit with these types of lines.
I watch enough.
The death rattle,
Yeah, I've picked that up from somewhere. That's right. But it is. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster.
It is, and it's a kind of. I mean, we'll talk a bit about the derbies coming up in a moment, but essentially, if you lose your best player to your rivals, I mean, I can only liken it, and I'm going to mention my team back in England, which is Tottenham Hotspur, and to Sol Campbell, captain of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, absolutely loved by the club.
That's a huge kick.
Over the summer, he let his contract wind down, and then the first we all know about it, he's on a press conference in an Arsenal shirt.
Well, that's even worse because what you've mentioned is bad enough, more than bad enough. But you didn't even get any money for it.
No money,
just to rub salt in the wound. Yeah.
So it does happen, but that's football, And
it's football.
I was younger in those days, and used to hold on to things a little bit more than I do now. So we've got a good goalie in goal. Let's have a little look at this team. I mean, It's very early days. You know, I've looked, there's a couple of the club is really, it's got a good social media team. They're popping out some reels if you follow the club, and they put on, so the club played they drew 2-2 last night with the Newcastle Jets in Sydney.
I saw that.
So they put on the goals, and one of the goals was long ball over the top, back in the net, boot forward from the goalie, and you know, forward picks it up and puts in the net. I mean, you can't ask for more.
Route 1 football.
Route 1 football.
Still do it.
I did make some notes about this game, but I've lost them completely. But yeah, there was.
It was 2-2. It was 2-2, and there's a lot of Route 1 football.
It was 2-2. I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of route, but one of the goals was another goal from Max Mata, who
there was an OG in there as well, wasn't there?
No, both got. Max Mata scored our goal, and then Logan Rogerson was the guy who got on the end of the old ball over the top, and Michael Wood is the goalkeeper, but obviously he's about to be replaced. We would have thought.
Yeah.
So he'll just be along for. He might be along for the ride. So I mean, any other key signings you've had a look at so far, Matt?
I tell you what, I've had a look. I mean, again, I'm going to throw my cliches out there as well with my my punditry. But what I will comment, what I don't mind, and what I quite like the look of, and if I was going to start a team, is to build a spine. There you go, straight through the middle of the team. And I think that's always a good place to start. And it looks like that's kind of almost where they're going to go. They're going to have, well, we've already talked about the goalkeeper, but Tommy Smith in defence. They'll probably stick him with, I don't know if they'll put him with that Japanese guy. He looks like he plays right back, but is it Francis De Vries? De Vries,
yes.
He's been around the block a few times.
He looks pretty good.
So him in the middle. They've also got, again, apologies if you're watching this and your name, but Cameron Harrison in the middle. He's played Football League. He's played for, I think I quickly looked, I think he was at Burnley. I think he got a contract up there when he was young. But again,
yes,
I think he's about 29 years old. So he's, been around the block enough times to be able to give you something in the middle. It's just up front, I suppose. I mean, again, the spine almost starts to finish a little bit when you go up front. But yeah, I like that. Decent goalkeeper, very good goalkeeper. Two good solid defenders that know the crack. And
did you mention Tommy Smith there?
I did mention Tommy Smith.
So Tommy Smith's in there. He's been around a long time. Tommy Smith. Yeah. He went to the World Cup back in 2010. He was up in the England for a while. Was it Ipswich or somewhere? 51 caps for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And this Dan Hall's a very good signing as well.
Okay.
Dan Hall, you didn't mention. Now he played 37 games last season for the Central Coast Mariners at centre back, and they won the treble.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah.
So for me, as well as those players you mentioned, we've got the best goalkeeper in the league. This guy sounds like he'd be right out there with best defenders if you're playing in the treble winning team.
Yeah.
And the young Japanese lad at 34 of Hiroki Sakai as well. He's played 75 times, 75 times for his country, 3 World Cups. Played for Hanover and Marseille.
Yeah,
they're good teams. Yeah. You know, and he said he wanted to come to Auckland because it's an amazing city to live in. And he's always wanted to play a league, and he's got a young family. And I think sometimes we forget how much that might be a bit of a pull card because you know we look at the big European clubs and they say, oh well, you know, the London clubs might attract some decent players because players want to come to London, but Auckland's going to attract people for different reasons, isn't it? I mean, you're here in God's own New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. I think where you're going to play, coming to Auckland's a pretty good proposition. If it's somebody that's maybe playing in the English league that may want to come back, or if it's somebody like you mentioned, the guy from Japan who's got that young family. It's a good place to be. It's a great place to be. There's lots of things to do, and I think it's going to help on the sell when it comes to coming and joining.
I mean, if you spend a couple of years in Burnley and Wigan and Oldham right. And Western Supermare, places like that, and Auckland sounds pretty good proposition.
Sounds like a good shout. That's right. Yeah. So no, they've got some decent. Yeah. Just I suppose it's the goals, but everybody's always looking for that 20+ goal striker every season, I suppose. So they don't come around very often.
Is that the same down A League? Is 20 good? is 20 considered good? I mean, they play less games, don't they? I think
that's true.
I think they only play 26. I'm figuring with his 13 home games, there must be 13 away games, so it must be 26.
Yeah,
so
it's always a bit of a cliche, isn't it? That in the English, whichever league you're in England, if you can, everyone's always trying to find a 20+ goal scorer. But I suppose, with the lesser games, what would you say, like 15 goals up front?
But at this level, if they're decent, they should be getting a hatful. It's funny you should mention that, because I heard some pros talking on another podcast, and they were basically saying back in the past, in the 80s and 90s, top strikers in the top league would score like 30+ goals a year.
Yeah, right.
Think nothing of it. The likes of Clive Allen and now if you've got a 20 goals a year striker, he's a good player. I mean, Spurs just signed this Dominic Solanke. I mean, if we get 20 out of him, we'll be delighted.
Yeah, you'd be laughing. Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So our next talking point, let's stick to Auckland stuff. Is the derby. Now, when the fixtures come out, the first, I mean, I guess as a fan, you'd be the same, Matt. Like, I mean, we talked about this last week, didn't we? You'd look for your derby. I always look for Arsenal in the calendar. If you were in the same league, you're a Birmingham fan. You'd be looking for Villa, wouldn't you?
Yeah, when we get up there. Yeah,
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right. A few years ago, yeah.
And I mean, even naming those two derbies, they all have their own flavour, but my goodness, there's tension and there's a lot goes on outside the ground, going to the ground.
Yeah,
the atmosphere. Wow, I remember living in the north of England, and on Derby Day, between the likes of Preston and Blackpool, even all the shops in all the pubs leading from the train station to Deepdale, where Preston North End played, would be boarded up. They were boarded up. From 6 o'clock in the morning. They'd taken no chances,
Just the anticipation.
So with that in mind, to our audience, that's where you and I come from, and it's and so we're going to try and give a little bit of analysis on these derbies, and there's going to be 3 of them. I don't know why. That's just how the fixtures pan out. We're learners. We're going to learn all about this A-League this year. 3 derbies. Auckland have got their opening 2 games in October. First one's against the Brisbane Roar, 19th of October, and then they've got a second one at home against Sydney the week later, and then they play their first away game, which is against the Wellington Phoenix on the 2nd November. That's a derby down in Wellington.
Okay, so that's their first away game. Oh no!
Yes, it's their first away game. Yeah, they've got 2 home games first.
Oh wow!
Auckland, and then their first away game is a derby against Wellington.
Yeah, right.
And it's it's a hard one this for me, because there's a big distance. There's a big geographical distance, and I know we're the only 2 teams from New Zealand, but a derby is by its very nature a geographical proximity thing, isn't it? Or is it not, Matthew? Have you got another side to this one?
It is, yeah. I mean, I'd even go into the fact where I think Sky Sports back in the UK tried to make more derbies than actually the derbies exist. I think you have to be within, Liverpool Everton is a derby. Blues Villa is a derby. Yeah, Spurs Arsenal. The proximity makes it a derby. You can't really, I wouldn't even go as far as saying that, like, my football team, when we play against Wolverhampton or West Bromwich,
it's not the derby. It's not the derby. You're in the same city, but it's not the derby, is it?
Wolverhampton and West Bromwich, that's the derby. They're the two that they're in the same place.
Black Country Derby.
Black Country Derby, yeah. So there's I've mentioned, I've talked to this a few people, but when they play rugby, when Auckland play Wellington in the regional rugby thing, there's a little bit of tension. There's a little bit of needle. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, just when they play each other. So, it can easily, build something. And, you just need a game where something, let's hope the first game or the first few games, something a bit controversial happens, or something doesn't go quite your way, because that's something that can always get a bit of bite.
It's going to be a spark that's going to really get people behind it, or one of the biggest things in football is it's not the wins, is it? It's the big losses. It's the
Yeah,
injustice. It's
yeah,
sometimes when you deserve to win and you're outdone by some refereeing mistake or VAR, of course, over the last
yeah,
few years. Do
yeah.
we even have VAR in the A League? God, I hope not.
I think I'm just trying to think the games that I watched last year. I just either they don't have it, or the games that I watched that didn't need to. It didn't need to be used. It obviously it falls into either of those categories. I feel like there might be VAR. I feel like there
Yeah,
might be something.
we should
I
do
tell
our
you what.
research.
I tell you what should get the derby going as well. The fact that Paulsen has moved.
Well, this was
Yeah,
my next thing. This is already, you know.
they should be. If I was a Wellington fan, I'd be giving it to him wherever they're playing. And the Auckland team or the Auckland fans, they need to get behind him as well. They need to back him up. You know, if he's getting a load of grief, you need to go back at him. There you go. There's your first point of argument or whatever.
That's where the good chants are normally born, isn't it? You
Yeah,
know,
that's
and
it.
some grim derby, and you know the your boy's getting a heap of shit and goal, and it's gonna be a song about, you know, he used to play for you guys, and
Exactly.
now he's on our team.
And he's
know.
behind the goal as well. He ain't moving
Yeah.
anywhere. He can't run over there. He can't run over there. He's right there. It's the worst thing. I think a goalkeeper moving from one team to another that's in some kind of local proximity is probably the worst you can do, because you know you're playing as well. You can't even come off the bench. So yeah, he should get a load of grief.
That's right. Yeah, look, I mean, I've seen stuff online already. You know, there's obviously a bit of I think it's, you know, folk a bit younger than us. They're very excited. You know, they've sort of come together and even come up with different sections of the crowd that are going to have different names. You know, there's the Port, up the Port. You know, you might have, you know, we've called this podcast Nice Drop of Port because, you know, the nickname's going to be the Port. And the fans are going to be the Port. That's where the chants are going to come from. That's where the heart of this club's going to come from. The atmosphere is going to come. So, you know, and I saw on Facebook. I don't know whether I can bring it up or not. I don't know whether I have the technical ability to do this. I might just talk about it instead. I think I'm just going to talk about it.
Hey, we've been doing it.
So I think I'm just going to talk about it. But there was and like I say, I mean, I love social media these days. You know, it's like every little niche thing can have its own little organic, you know,
that's right.
And these guys are called, you know, the Port Section 22. I think is behind the goal there in the south stand at Mount Smart Stadium.
Oh yeah.
Can we call it the Mount Smart Stadium? I was looking at this today, and it's called the Go Media Stadium.
Well, that's news to me. I think if you're talking amongst your friends, if you mention that you're going to
the Go Media Stadium, they think I was going to that one downtown where Taylor Swift and people like that play, I reckon.
I was going to say, I think still people call that it's not the Spark. It's not Spark anymore, is it?
Probably got new owners now. New sponsors.
I can't keep up with it. The one in Wellington changes as well. That goes from like the Sky to something else.
Yeah, so I call it the Cake Tin, that one in Wellington, because at least it doesn't change.
That's Mount Smart. That's the Cake Tin. Eden Park. Just stick to everyone what it knows. Yeah.
But yeah, Mount Smart Stadium. Yeah, which is another story altogether. You know, I'm not quite sure how I would get there to Mount Smart Stadium on public transport. I mean, we're all about public transport in my family. We like to jump on the bus if we can.
Yeah.
And I think I put into the Auckland transport plan. It was going to take me the best part of 2 hours to get from West Auckland to.
That's quite good. That's actually not too bad.
That's pretty good.
Better than I thought it would be. Yeah.
So yeah, it's 2 hours on the bus or 20 minutes in the car. I guess it's in the car and find a little park close by.
Yeah.
And it's things like this you don't think about, right, until you start going to football. Now, when I used to go to Spurs, we always used to park in the same space.
Yeah,
but right. I found a space. I drove up when I was 17 and a half, and I passed my test. Found a space. I parked in that space every time.
yeah.
You know, literally, or on the same road, because I knew the way in and I knew the way out. And you know what it's like, you know, those big grounds when everyone's spilling out.
Oh, you never get close. You don't get too close.
Yeah, and you want to be just close enough so it's not too far, but then you want to be out, right? You want to be on the ring road.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be. We used to park a little bit away from St Andrews, basically next to the pub where my dad and all his brothers used to go. Yeah.
And we used to, if Spurs, of course, were getting beat, we'd be one of those people like spilling out the stadium.
Oh yeah, well, my dad never.
Let's get to the car, you know. Get out
My
of here.
dad never used. I don't think my dad ever saw the start of any games. Typically, we'd always be going. You coming, Dad? Yeah, I'll be there. You coming? You going? And we'd obviously end up walking down, and we'd probably just get there, and then he'd walk in about 10 minutes later, and ask him what the score was. Blues didn't have a scoreboard till about 2022 or something. So
I guess a lifetime of watching Birmingham City would sort of dampen the enthusiasm after a while.
It's amazing we went as long as we did. Yeah.
So anyway, the Port. I digress. The Port are down there in Mount Smart Go Media Stadium, and it's there's a whole end that are it's uncovered, Matt.
Yeah, right? Old school.
I've noticed this, and that's where these tickets that I've got are. When you come with me, I think we're in the shit. I think we're in the Port. Yeah, I'd look at it. I think we're down there.
But you're not covered.
No coverage. So I mean, most people will be thinking rain. We're gingers. We're thinking the sunshine.
Yeah, well, the season, isn't it? Yeah,
season's during summer.
Yeah.
Give me a ginger, but like,
give me a.
I've got a
sombrero.
I've got a one of those hats that the Vietnamese ladies wear in the paddy fields.
Yeah,
and down Avondale Market. I got one of those in an op shop.
And
I reckon they're the nuts for the gingers in the summer.
Yeah, anything like that. Coverage.
So yeah, probably. And also
good if it rains as well.
Yeah, and I'll have a tee. And what I do, Matt, is I put a t-shirt on my head. This is me for 7 months of the year in Auckland. I got a t-shirt on my head, which goes down on the neck and over the ears, and then the hat goes over the top, whether it's a baseball cap or a pork pie or in this case the little Vietnamese lady that I stole the hat off. But always the t and that's been a recent development, the t-shirt, because it means I can work outside, because people that aren't gingers, they're like, oh, it's fine, just we need to go and dig up a hole or something out there or for a while, or we need to go and move the pump for the swimming pool, and we're not real fancy with the pool, but we had one of those put up once. But so the sun is an issue. But I think we were talking about this last week. The games during summer, my understanding is, can't kick off before 5 p.m.
Oh, perfect.
Once we get into the summer months.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yes, because from 5 you can take a risk or two, and well, not take a risk, but no one take a risk with your life, But but I might better go without the toweling and the full.
Oh, it'd be perfect. Yeah, I think you'll be fine. Yeah, especially in those kind of like just before the summer really hits, if they are playing at those times. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I like the whole 5 o'clock kickoff thing, because it's the sort of time, and for me it works. It's the sort of time because I could take my kids out because it's not too late. Game's done at 7. If we're in my little spot to shoot off, be home by 7:30, 8 o'clock. But also, if you feel like a night out, God forbid, I mean, it's been many decades, but if I felt like a night out, Matthew, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If I don't have the kids, 7 o'clock finish. That's the time to go out, I think.
Oh yeah,
it's a bit early for younger people to go out at 7 o'clock. But I mean, if I went out, I'd be home by midnight.
Done by, I was going to say 10. Yeah, done by 10.
In this fictional night out, I'm going to have.
I
definitely want to be home by midnight.
Yeah, with a fictional hangover at the end.
Fictional hangover. Nothing good happens after midnight.
No, that's what they tell you. That's what they tell you.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, maybe we should do it, Matthew. We'll go to the Derby game and soak up the atmosphere, the wraparound, match day experience. I'm interested.
The build up.
Yeah, I want to. I mean, the Port, they'll have a pub.
Best bit.
We'll go to the pub that the Port are going to, and we'll get in there, and it'll be just probably all English people. Just they're just finally released and allowed to go to the football again.
Talking about how their podcast is getting on.
Yeah,
this is my podcast.
They've all got their own podcast. They've all got nothing better to do.
Hold on a minute. What?
I've completely lost track, Matthew. I'm going to get us back on track. I'm going to get us back on track.
Now they love all this.
They love all this out there.
They
Right?
love all this. They love all this.
I'm going to share my screen again. At the top of this, I threw ahead to. We wanted to know why Ali Williams had bought a shirt that was too small for him.
Yeah.
And so let's just have a little look at.
Let's have a look at this.
Let's have a little look at him, shall we?
Let's pretend we haven't seen this yet.
Let's pretend we haven't seen this, but
yeah.
Hold on. Oh no, here we go.
Here it comes. Oh. Ali?
Little underdress. See the description below and we'll replace it. If it's undamaged, still got the tags on, and it's shiny as new.
All right, let's watch it from the beginning. Team. Here we go. So he put this out about a week ago.
Feel like Stephen Donald in a World Cup final? A little underdress. See the description below and we'll replace it. If it's undamaged, still got the tags on, and it's shiny as new.
Do you know what?
There's a lot going on, isn't there? There's a lot going on.
I kind of watch it and I can't help liking him. You know, I'm kind of like, there's something about him. He's and I actually watched another interview he did because he's obviously he's a part owner of this club as well with his missus.
Yeah.
And and I like what he says a lot of the time about this football club.
I tell you what, he's done that out of jest, but it works.
Oh yeah,
it's good. Yeah. I tell you what, he made that look like somebody's just doing the off the bat there, but he's actually done really well. It's actually quite well put together. He's quite funny. You can tell he's a funny bloke. He's a funny bloke,
and we think this happened because the club on its, I don't know, and I don't want to get this wrong, but a bunch of orders or the first batch, the sizing was wrong, or you got yourself an XL and you turned up with this, it was too small. But some of those shirts can't they? I mean, not like Ali Williams there. That was.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the gist of what he's what he's talking about. My first thinking was that they've ordered a load of shirts, but as we've talked about, there's that when you buy a club shirt, you can get the very athletic one, and you can get the one that's a little bit more.
That's right.
Got a little bit more give, if you know what I mean. So. Is that what he's trying to say? He's like, you've jumped online. You're normally a large. You've ordered yourself a large, and it's come out, and it looks like, old Ali Williams there, stood in his 10-year-old's kit. Yeah,
it must be. I think there's obviously been an issue with the sizing, but it's good crisis comms in my opinion.
Brilliant.
It's like no one. You watch that and you're like, fair enough. They told us. Play. And that message gets through much better than sending out an email to people that have got a shirt going, oh geez, sorry, the shirt's all a little bit undercooked, because at least they see, they go, look, the club have acknowledged it, and Ali Williams is,
and it's Ali Williams as well. Like every man and his dog knows who he is, really, don't they? So,
every man knows this guy, and I'm enjoying the cut of his jib, and he's obviously realizes he's got to be a bit of a front person for the club. And until we get some stars, and the manager, I mean, we don't know anything about this manager apart from the fact he was at Sydney for a long, long time.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Ali though, if you want to come on the show.
Ali Williams on Auckland FC's first fan podcast. I mean, I haven't seen any others out there. Have you, Matthew?
No, get on there. Get in there first. Be the first one. Be the first one on the show. Well, this is the only show, but he can be the first one.
He can't come on this one. I'd love to see Ali Williams. I'd love to have Ali Williams on. I'd love to have I'd love to have that. I'd love to have Bill Foley on, the American owner. That'd be amazing. I'd love to have some people from the port. The guys who have started up that Facebook page, and there's a lot going on. They've already organised a meetup with. So Auckland Football Club have sort of joined with the port, and there's already, in a couple of weeks' time, there's an event, a 150-seat free event, but you've got to get your ticket down at a pub in Auckland, where the port are going to meet the players and the directors and managers, and
really cool.
Yeah, I mean it's
great. Yeah,
because I think they realise they've got to do everything they can to connect with any. I mean, if there's a bunch of people who have started a fan base already, then that's a dream for the club, right?
Yeah, so it's like we talked about it's organic. It's come out of nothing.
It's organic,
When it's forced, you can tell it's forced when it has been. Yeah,
it could have been dead space, So
Yeah.
I think that's great. Just a few more things for us to round off, Matthew. We've done well. We haven't digressed too much.
No, could be a lot worse.
I've been feeling grumpy for weeks,
Oh, dear.
and I've only realised it today. It's because there's been no football on, and I think that's who.
Well, yeah,
I-
you say that. You say the lower teams have started.
Oh, I know, but are they? Yeah, but not in
Where the
friendlies,
real
not-
football. The real
You mean
football with the real
you mean
fans.
What league? What league are Birmingham in now? League One.
League One, yeah. League One, yeah.
League One. And so you're in with Wrexham.
Yeah, we
In
are.
with,
Yeah,
in with old Brian
they're-
Reynolds. And
talk of derbies. That's going to be the Hollywood derby, as
the
they're
Hollywood
going to
derby.
call it.
Oh
Or
yeah.
the American derby.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with old
jeez.
Tom Brady v. Ryan Reynolds.
So it's already back up and running, the lower league. The lower league.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
it would be. We're only a few days to the Prem starts.
Well, the buggers have got to play about 60 odd games, so they've got to start. They're going to have to start sometime, or whatever it is. You play so many times in League One. There's like 24 teams.
Can you see it here? Is it televised?
I'm not sure if you can on Sky. I think you'd have to sign up for. I think my team has its own kind of streaming channel.
Oh yeah.
But you just got to get
a subscription.
Yeah, but you got to get up at stupid o'clock to watch it. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I've been.
But anyway,
I'm like
football.
Football's
Yeah.
coming back. Like, I mean, I just
Coming
there's
back.
just something about having a when you're a football fan, not having football, and like I said right at the top, like we do it quite tough here in Auckland. Like we have a tough time zone to watch football from overseas. Like all of our World Cups and Euros are played at 5-6 in the morning. You and I, were part of a little group who went and watched England lose in the Euro final again, and I think that was about a month ago. And so we've had a lot of football anyway, but I'm still missing it. So I'm glad the Prem's back, and I'm really excited about going to these games.
Yeah.
I'm excited because and I think if we're just two of a lot of excited people, it's going to be a thing, Which brings me on to my next question, though, and I wrote this earlier: will Auckland FC fans stick around when it gets tough? And I went on a bit of a keyboard warrior rant. When you fire 3 managers in 4 months, when your team are bottom of the league, when your team sells their best player to a rival team, when the football's just dire to watch. Are the fans going to stick by the team? And it's probably far too early to get into this, but being a football fan for a long, long time, it's not all roses and beer and Skittles, is it?
Well, no, I've been a Birmingham City fan. It certainly isn't beer and Skittles, but I think there's going to be. I think because it's a brand new team, there's got to be a bit of a honeymoon period. There has to be, where people are not going to be. It's going to get to a point where if the football's crap and they're getting beaten every week, then that's going to start to sink in. But I think they're going to have a good chunk of the season where it's still going to feel brand new and people are still going to give them a bit of the benefit of the doubt at the beginning.
I think it'll be good for them if they can get a couple of results early. If they can get a couple of wins on the board.
I think they will. I think there's plenty of teams in that league where they can beat.
Looking at just a couple of these signings, especially this goalkeeper,
yeah,
you've got to say, well, if we've got the best goalie in the league,
yeah,
then we're not going to do too badly, because that's half the battle, really, having a good goalie. I mean,
it is
at every level of football.
Dictates the way you play.
It dictates the way you play. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a good goalie in there, then you're confident. So that just about wraps up our show, I think, Matthew. And we're going to watch this space with the team come together again at some point soon. And definitely we're looking for people to come on. And we're looking for likes, and I'm going to run my little like or subscribe on the buttons below.
There it is.
There it
Comment,
is.
subscribe, like
subscribe
it
below.
Yeah,
we're going to get this out on YouTube most likely, and then a couple of little pieces on all the other social media platforms as well, and see how we go. So thank you very much for joining.
You're welcome.
into the show, Matthew. And yeah, we will see you next time.